Greeting friends and brethren around the world. Jesus Christ sent a voice crying out to this world, rising early and sending him. That voice filled the airways, sounding like a trumpet, crying aloud and sparing not, showing the United States of America and Britain their sins, and above all, revealing to the Church of God their transgressions, and by God's merciful grace, revealing the way of salvation to all who heard that voice. He announced the true gospel of the kingdom of God.
Now, God has not called us just for salvation. He has called us for something to do that has to do with preparing for the kingdom of God. Now, what he's called the church for today is to get back of the apostles that he has called and chosen, to whom he has given the responsibility of being sent forth. Apostle is a word that means one sent forth with the message.
My question to you, brethren, do you remember hearing that voice? Do you remember you were called through that voice that Jesus Christ said he would send? You know, in Malachi chapter 3 and verse 1, Malachi wrote, "Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple. Even the messenger of the covenant, whom you delight in, behold, he shall come, says the Eternal of hosts." This promise by the one God being, whom John identified as the Word, the spokesman, the second member of the God family, the Apostle John wrote in John 1 verse 1 to 3, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made." Verse 14, "And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. And the Word, Jesus Christ, said, Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me." An apostle is one sent. An apostle is one sent. The Greek word for apostle is apostolos, and it means sent. And there is ample evidence that Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong fulfilled that passage. And he did it for 52 years and still is, even though the forces of evil are trying to shut him down, is still doing it today. Even Malachi 3:1 shows, brethren, that Jesus Christ sent an apostle. He sent one forth. Remember that? He sent one forth. God said that before Christ's return, he would send someone, contrary to what any of the present-day leaders of the scattered churches of God may say or teach. One narcissistic leader, influenced by the devil, teaches that he, and not Mr. Armstrong, came as the Elijah type to restore all things. This man is an outright liar. Notice this video I produced on January the 13th, 2013. January the 13th, 2013. Listen to it. Recently, a friend and member of the Restored Church of God sent me this publication. The title of it, "Do You Know David C. Pack?" or "Do You Know David Pack?" The caption on this publication is "My Life and Ministry, Rumors and Lies versus Facts and Truth." What this publication is supposed to do is to exonerate David Pack, to make him look good, to show you that the rumors and lies on the internet are untruths. They're false statements. They're not facts, and they are not truth. Are they? Or are they not? Are they truth, or are they false statements? Well, I'm here to tell you today that in this magazine, there are false statements. In this magazine, there are false statements. And you and I need to take a look inside of this publication and just see that false statement. Well, one of them anyway. On page 15, they discuss, and I say they discuss because this magazine or this publication was not produced only by David C. Pack. He has a team of men that work with him, and they produce this magazine in their boardroom. I've sat there and I've done the same thing, working with him in those areas. Well, on page 15, we have the subheading of how many were disfellowshipped. And of course, this subheading has under it 10 paragraphs, and in paragraph 7, he states, today in the Restored Church of God, we are now well over 13 years old. In that time, I have not disfellowshipped even one person anywhere in the world. Now, we understand that if you find a false statement in a publication, that means that the publication becomes questionable. Everything else he's said in it becomes questionable because a false statement is defined by the context in which it is written. He says, while today in the Restored Church of God, we are now well over 13 years old. In that time, I have not disfellowshipped even one person. Not one person. I'm here to tell you that that's a false statement. As a matter of fact, I'm here to tell you that that's a blatant and outright lie. Because David C. Pack, personally, on the 29th of June 2011, while waving his fist in my face, personally disfellowshipped and fired me.
Let me ask you, if the worldwide Church of God was the true Church of God, then who was in charge? Someone had to be the physical head under Jesus Christ. Was he just a leading minister as the United Church of God and the Church of God, a worldwide association, teach? Or was he just a teacher, as some ministers with their own groups believe? However, if an apostle was in charge under Christ, and the Church of God received all truth through him, and that church believed Christ worked through him, why all the disunity today? And why all the lies today? Why all the disagreement among these men who, most of them went to Ambassador College? They sat at Mr. Armstrong's feet being taught by him. Why do these men openly reject Herbert Armstrong as God's last apostle? You know, Mr. Gerald Flurry, who edited Mystery of the Ages to protect himself, claimed he's a prophet. So he had to take that out of Mystery of the Ages. Roderick Meredith, who taught that Mr. Armstrong being the Elijah type was a joke. And he discredited the book Mystery of the Ages as being preposterous. There are other ministers of United and Kagwa. All their ministry reject the government of God taught to them by Mr. Armstrong. This shows their hypocrisy. And you, brethren, sitting in those churches where they vote their leaders into power, are asleep. Yes, brethren, you need to wake up. Wake up. Your leaders and the ministers are deceiving you. They reject Jesus Christ as ruler over them. Jeremiah 5:30-31 states, a wonderful and marvelous thing is committed in the land. That's in the church of God. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means. In other words, they don't trust in God. They don't trust revelation. They don't trust Jesus Christ. They don't trust the prophets nor the apostles that were sent to them. And neither do they trust an apostle sent to them in this last century. And my people love it, Jeremiah says, to have it so. And then he continues and says, and what will you do in the end thereof? Yes, brethren, what will you do? Why do these scattered churches think Christ is among them and their members? Why? When they reject Jesus Christ and cause him to go far from his sanctuary. You need to go and study Ezekiel chapter 8 and Ezekiel chapter 9. We need to wake up. Yes, wake up. We are slumbering and sleeping. Don't you see? We are in the age of Laodicea, and God says to you in Matthew 25, then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. No, they had no Spirit of God. But the wise took oil in their vessels with the lamps. While the bridegroom tarried or waited, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom comes, go you out to meet him. My dear brethren, that wake-up call is crying out to you now, but you will not hear it. Unstop your ears and listen. The bridegroom comes, brethren. Be careful. If you do not make yourself ready by returning to the voice that you heard when you were called, you are in danger of hearing Jesus Christ say to you, verily I say unto you, I know you not. The scriptures answer clearly and unmistakably that Jesus Christ is the head of his church. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. Jesus Christ is the head. The church is his body. If Jesus Christ is in charge, does he have power to direct the affairs of his church the way he wants? Yes, he is responsible for his church. And he, Jesus Christ, restored the truth through his last apostle whom he sent, Mr. Armstrong, to lead his church. Jesus said, here are the words of Jesus Christ. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that receives whomsoever I send receives me, and he that receives me receives him that sent me. Notice that Jesus is referring to the one that he sends. If we receive the one that he sends, he's apostle, who will bind up and take hold of what the Father sent. And if we accept that apostle and what was restored, we are receiving Jesus Christ and the Father. However, what we see in these scattered churches led by men who do not receive the late apostle, and so they reject the one whom Christ has sent. And by that, you reject Jesus Christ. This lesson is made clear in the Old Testament account of Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 7. After the people had rejected Samuel, God told Samuel, they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me that I should not reign over them. Rejecting the one voice sent into the world, the voice that the living Christ sends, can be a fatal mistake. The churches of God, if they claim to receive Christ, they must get back to receiving Mr. Armstrong and all the work he did and is presently doing today on the internet. So, brethren, save yourselves from this perverse generation. Until next time, this is Michael Venish saying, goodbye, brethren, and goodbye, friends.